so excited to be able to speak to you because I absolutely loved your book. It was just such a nice thing to read at a time like this, and I'm sure a lot of people also who are reading it feels the same way. And which is why I was wondering, do you think that people are less or more kind these days?
Um, I think probably some people are less kind and some people are more kind. Some people are uh, more concerned about themselves, and rightly so, because things are not going well for them. The pandemic has, brought up a whole range of problems, from being concerned about your job, losing your job, being furloughed, worried about your business, worried about family members, about your own health. So when we're concerned and worried about something, it's very difficult to look outside of ourselves. So in that respect, I think people are less kind. But in another respect, people are recognizing that, yeah, other people are suffering and struggling and finding it difficult, and are doing a huge range of different things to reach out to other people and make things better for them. So, yeah, I think almost probably we've gone to extremes, really.
That's very true. I definitely feel the same way, where there's a sense of collective community, but at the same time, there's so much distance as well. So it does make sense. And actually, I was wondering, where did you sort of get the idea to write this book then?
Um, Gosh, I think it's just something I've always been interested in, the concept and the idea of kindness, and the fact that it can make such a massive difference. So I was interested to explore that more, and look at, why we're kind, how we can be kind, how we can reach out to other people, how we can find it within ourselves to be kind when other people are being very difficult. And also about the importance of being kind to yourself. So I just recognise that it's a concept. In other words, it's kindness is a whole collection of ideas. So I was just interested in exploring that more, and being able to write about it.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe how many books you'd written. I was just astounded. I was like, when did you get time to write so many books in your life? I'm like, how many are there? It's like, what, 50
I
something?
think I've got, well, I've written about more than 20 for adults and 8 children's books.
My God. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing, like one person can write something, just even
Well,
one book in
and
one
actually,
lifetime.
it sounds like maybe I don't have a life and that all I do is write, but actually, that is so just not me. Writing sort of almost comes second to other things that I like to do. And so, what I do know about myself and why I can be quite a prolific writer is that I'm a very confident writer. So, I used to teach study skills
Hmm.
and write essay writing at University of Sussex, and I recognise that so much about writing is down to confidence. We all feel that there's a particular way we've got to be able to write, and actually the bottom line is you empty your head of everything, then you go back over it, and then you redraft it again, and then you edit it, and then you go back over it again. And what paralyzes people very often is that they feel that they're doing something wrong, and they don't think that they're not a good writer. But pretty much every author or writer will tell you that's the way they do it. And when you know that that's the process, you then just get on with it rather than
Mm.
get all hung up about, oh, I don't know what to say next. So I would say it's being a confident writer, knowing that I will get there in the end, and not, yeah, sometimes I think I don't know where I'm going with all of this, or what I'm doing, or where am I going to find out some more information. But that's just normal difficulties. So that's what helps me to be quite prolific. I mean, I've written all of those in the last 12 years.
Oh
So
my God.
probably
That's crazy.
about 3 a year. But as I say, I'm not at it all day, every day. I probably spend probably 3 or 4 hours a day writing. And I'm not capable of, I can't write any more than that. My brain seizes up. You know, like if you drive a really long distance, if you drive for like 6-8 hours, when you get to the end, your brain is buzzing. So I'm like that after about 4 hours of writing. So I can't write any more than that.
It's still amazing. I'm like 3 books a year. That's crazy, but amazing as well.
I have to say that I have a friend that she's a hairdresser. In fact, she's got her own barbers now. And I worked out the other day, I thought people say, wow, it's amazing how many books you've written about myself. But I think, well, if she's been cutting hair 5 days a week for 30 years, I sort of worked out how many thousands of haircuts she'd done. And you know, no one ever says to her, it's amazing how many haircuts you've done.
That's very true. That's very true.
We're all doing something that if you actually have a way of adding it up, we've all accumulated or done a huge amount in any sort of 10-year period, really.
It's a very good point. I think it's the grass is always greener, isn't it?
Yeah.
But actually, I was quite interested in some of the things you mentioned in the book, which is, you know, the idea of being kind to yourself. Do you find it's a chicken and egg situation where do you have to be kind to yourself first before you can be kind to others, or the other way around?
I think the two go hand in hand. I think that when you recognize that you have needs and that you have to be gentle with yourself and compassionate and not expect too much, when you can recognize that about yourself, it's a lot more easy to recognize that that's the same is true for other people. I think sometimes you can be kind to other people, concerned about them, supporting them, encouraging them, reaching out, and actually ignore your own needs. But I think if you're aware of being kind and compassionate to yourself, then you're naturally going to probably, I think, be like that towards other people. The thing is about being kind with other people is when you're kind, you actually have to think of doing something very often. Often kindnesses are automatic, but the other kindnesses where you think, oh, how can I make a difference, or what can I do to help here, or what small gesture can I make? That then actually does take you out of yourself, which is a good thing very often, because we can, you know, so for example, with the pandemic, if you're struggling, concerned, worried, that's all valid, but help take your mind off that. Often one of the nicest things you can do is actually think, well, how can I support someone else, or encourage or make a positive difference? And then not only if you do extend a kindness, not only are you supporting and helping someone else, but actually it makes you feel good as well, because usually the other person is aware of your kindness and they come back with some gratitude and appreciation, which makes you feel good. But even if they don't, you know you've done something good, and that makes you feel positive.
Definitely. And I was just wondering, because for people who are like really empathetic, do you find there's a step where they go maybe too far and they become kind of overwhelmed? So is there such thing as too much kindness?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, of course, then it can be like, what actually is going on here? That you know someone's being too kind, too generous. It's sort of, what are they trying to not think about in their own lives, or about themselves? So you can give too much to others, and usually that could be some sort of an avoidance technique. You're trying to avoid thinking about something that maybe you need to address in your own life or about yourself. So that's how overdoing it can be, where that might be coming from.
That's interesting, yeah, because I was wondering, because obviously, you do get the other end of it, and not knowing boundaries and things like that, and it just can go the other direction, isn't it?
Definitely, you can't. Yeah, and there has to be boundaries. There's only so if you're trying to help somebody who's struggling, there's only a certain amount that you can do. In the end, people have to make their own decisions and take action themselves. You can do it lots to support and encourage someone else, but you can't make their situation your own. Otherwise, actually, you're taking over then, and you're no longer being kind. You're actually overpowering that person and disabling them.
That's very true. That is very true. And I think, knowing your intentions, I think is quite, isn't it? Having clear intentions. Yeah. And actually, speaking of, so what does kindness mean to you then?
It means being able to make a positive difference. It's not about thinking of myself as, this all sort of lady bountiful, here I am, here to provide gifts and do things for you. But it is just a very real recognition that, just like everyone else, for myself, kindness means that you can make a difference. I can't, there's very little I can do to stop wars and riots and pandemics and dodgy politicians, but I can make small gestures of kindness that really do make a difference in people's day, in their people's week, or people's lives. So it's about recognizing, kindness is recognizing what positive things you can do within your own world. So that's your own family, friends, colleagues, workplace, or whatever your world is.
Actually, that's a really good point, because I was just wondering, like, in terms of offering what you can do, how do you do it at a time of a pandemic, where you're just sort of cut off from everyone and you're using Zoom to contact people? So what's the best way of reaching out?
Well, exactly. We have got Zoom, so that is. I know, for a lot of people, if it's their job, if their work involves a lot of Zoom, it's like, oh, one more Zoom, I can't bear it. But okay. If we can keep in contact with Zoom, we can keep in contact by phone. I mean, people don't tend to use the phone anymore. An older generation does. They still tend to literally pick up the phone and make a call. But so you can make connections in different ways. Make a call, send a card. Write a letter, send a nice card with just a bit of news in it. Get in touch with people, and I think getting in touch with people that you possibly wouldn't normally do. So, for example, I recently phoned a family member that we only really see each other at family occasions, but I just thought, actually, I'm going to see how she is, and phoned her up. And I was genuinely interested, how she was and how she was doing. But at the end of it, she said, "You've made my evening. Thanks very much for calling." And
that's so nice.
To make her evening, but that I'd made the difference. And I think we can all do that. We can think of different ways that we can keep connected, get in contact with people, and not just the normal friends or family that you do, but as I say, somebody that I only normally see at family occasions. So I just thought I'd give her a call. So to do that, think of people that you could give a call to, connect with in some way.
That's so nice. That's so lovely, and it's such a good idea to reach out to people you don't usually reach out to. It's strange in our sort of very busy lives, especially outside of the pandemic. We just tend to kind of forget about a lot of people, isn't it? So it's amazing how this has almost created an opportunity to remember all the people around you, isn't it? Your networks.
Yeah, absolutely. And to ask how they're doing, to maybe not phone them up and dump on them what we're all struggling with, but to phone them up and say, just say something about what you found difficult, because that often encourages the other person. So you might say something that you're struggling with or finding difficult during the pandemic, and then just say, what about you? How are you finding that? Or how are you feeling about it? What's been good for you? And what are you struggling with? Because that often, when you open up about how you're feeling, as I say, without going on about it and dumping on the other person, when you open up and then invite the other person to say something, that allows for them to say how they know that you're genuinely interested. And I think we've all experienced this, where someone else has said to us about a friend, they've gone, oh, because she's been really struggling recently, has, and you think, oh, I didn't know that. I've chatted, even if you've chatted, you thought, oh, I didn't think once to say, actually, how are you finding it? How are you doing? So I think you're not out there trying to collect stories of people's misery, but say something about what you're struggling with, and ask the other person, what about you? What are you finding a struggle, and what are you finding good? And that way you connect more.
Yeah, it's so true, because there is obviously it's a perfect opportunity to have this shared kind of experience, isn't it? Now,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and
well, absolutely. You're absolutely right. It is a shared experience. We might be experiencing it in different ways, but we are all, the world over, experiencing the pandemic, and it's affecting us all in different ways. Yeah.
do you think it will change when we all go back outside?
No, I think again, people who, some people have become involved in community initiatives and are doing voluntary work. And I think who people that maybe hadn't ever done anything like that before. And so they will probably continue either with the same community work, or they'll look for something different because they've enjoyed it, and they'll think about what other way can I be involved. But I think it's a bit like, research shows that if you win lots and lots of money, a huge amount of money, millions, then of course at first you're yay, but after a certain period of time, your levels of happiness go back to how they were before. And I think that's pretty much the same, unless we make a real concerted effort as individuals, or it's forced upon us to change our ways, then we tend to revert back to how we were. So that's not a bad thing. I think that generally what we have seen is the difference that we can all make to each other. And one thing I would say, I've talked to a few people recently who are older than me, who have gone and had their vaccinations at vaccination centres. And the one thing they've all said, because these places are all run by volunteers, or at least the people giving the vaccinations are professionals, but the people saying, you need to come over here, you need to sit there, okay, go over there, here's a leaflet. What everyone's told me who's been to these vaccination centres is how lovely everyone else is. All these volunteers are, how nice they are. So I think that's a real positive that will come out of it, is recognising, everyone recognising what a difference kindness and niceness can make, whether they're on the receiving end of it or they're one of the people giving it.
Definitely, I totally agree. It's so lovely to see that community spirit, and just even doing this and talking to people, it's just been a really nice experience. Talking about nice sort of life skills like kindness. It's such an important skill to have, and so yeah, it's been really really nice to talk to people about these kind of experiences. And actually, so why do you find kindnesses and kindness to others is important?
Because it does make a difference. It makes people feel good. It can, it can be nice. It can just, make someone's day. They might not be struggling with anything. It's just like, oh, that was nice. So it's something nice for someone to receive in their day, a kindness from someone else. But if they are struggling, then giving a kindness to someone else, being kind to someone else, really can make a difference. It can make a huge difference. So I think that's why it's important. Most importantly, though, actually, is because a kindness absolutely creates a connection between you and the other person. It really, human beings are social beings. It's what we do. It's just part of who we are as a species. We need to connect with each other. We need each other. And so whenever we can make that a positive connection, that just helps our spirit and soul to feel that we're included, that we're valued. That's the other thing, that we have value and that we have worth. So all of those things are important.
It's lovely, yeah, and it's so true. And I really love the book. That just even the fact that there's so much actionable advice. The in a nutshell, just being able to just look at that and just be like, I'll be able to now use this and go out in the world and do something with it. And actually, I just wanted to ask you, what acts of random kindness have you done recently? Then,
okay, what have I done? Let me think. Actually, I'm okay. If I just get the charger, I need to plug it in.
sure.
Sorry. Kindness. Let me think. What have I done? Oh, I mean, and this is the other thing. Sometimes they can be quite, to someone else, it's like, you did what? But I bought for my son and his partner. Well, I bought myself something. I'd read about something that I'd not heard of before. It's called a microplane. And this is a grater for cheese or spices, like nutmeg or lemon zest or anything.
So that really small one, the really small one.
Yeah, and they're highly engineered. It's some sort of new engineering that makes them really effective. So I bought myself one, and just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I thought, oh, this is amazing. I was looking for things to grate, and one of my sons and his partner are really into cooking, and they're both working from home. They're both in lockdown in London, and I just thought, I'm going to order this and send it to them. So, they were like, what's this? when they received, I said, phone me when you've got it and I'll explain it. So they were, they were thrilled with it. So that, just a small gift like that, as I say, someone else might have gone, you sent your son what? What else have I done? Oh, I sent a book to a friend's daughter. I haven't even met her daughter, actually. This friend of mine, her daughter has had a baby and it's her first baby, and she's struggling a bit, as most new parents do, because everything's really new. And I found a secondhand copy of a book that I'd had years ago, obviously, when I had my first child, and I found it so helpful. And I just thought, oh, I could send this to Sean's daughter. So I posted that this morning. But it's not just about, buying things. Okay, the book cost £5, the microplane cost £10. There's small amounts of money, but, often that's a lot of money for people. But it's even things like, this morning, yesterday I was talking to somebody, a neighbour, and she said how much she was into jigsaws over the pandemic. And this morning I happened to read about a new company of a couple of young men that started up this jigsaw company with the most beautiful designs. And so I just sent her a link, and actually she literally replied about half an hour before you and I spoke, and she went, oh, hi Jill, thanks for that, how kind of you. So, that cost me nothing. That was just thinking, and we can all do that. We can all read something or find something and think, oh, I know someone who might be interested. And you can just put, this might not be of interest, but I thought I'd send it to you anyway. Just something like that. It's not only have you sent them some information that could be useful, but you've clearly had to think about them in order to do that.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's the fact that you're thinking about them, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, and that you've got an in, you know, as I say, you might want to say, you know, I don't know, this will be of interest, but you were talking about jigsaws yesterday, so you know, just let them know you're not going to be offended if they think, no, that's of no interest to me. But it shows that you have taken note of something that they've talked about, and yeah, you've picked up on that and sent them something. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to buy things, although you can. It can be small things, or even I've done things before, like I do for my mum. She's 92.
Oh,
And if we have family stuff, I mean, nobody gets photos printed anymore, do they? But I go online, and but there's a company that I just get a photo printed of a family thing, and then just get it addressed to her and sent to her. So you know, and that costs £2 or £3, I think. So
that's so
that
nice.
lots. It really is the really very small things that you do that can make a difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and especially now, it makes all the difference now.
Yeah.
So yeah, God, that's so lovely, Jill. Jill, like, do you have any other thoughts, last thoughts?
Yeah, I just think, yeah, as you said, especially now, people are feeling disconnected now. And so anything that you can do to connect, anything, yeah, anything you do to connect is a kindness. That's not being patronizing at all to the other person, but it's just thinking of a way, and thinking of creative ways as well, little funny little things you could do or send or talk about, yeah, and listen to what other people are doing and how they're connecting, and think, oh yeah, we could do that. I could do that with my friend, or I could do that with my family, and look for some creative ways to extend some kindnesses, and just connect with other people.
That's so nice. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jill. I really do appreciate you taking the time to actually speak to me.